As Chaos Emeralds in the end zone. Go and get them, lads.
There is no reason why they can't be in the NFC Championship game.
Forget the Dolphins, it's more of a concern for my fantasy team.
He's out the door, bags packed, see you later, nowhere to go, he's on the street! Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast, where the pain of preseason is almost over. Guys, we have just got one more round of preseason fixtures and then we are in to the regular season. That is exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thank the Lord that we can actually get some, not to say that preseason's not meaningful football, but just some actual first team reps a bit more consistently. I'm sure we'll actually be able to dive into some top players and top teams beating one another. Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills. It's endless. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, we know the NFL off season is vast and really long. I feel like the last couple of weeks it's been longer. We've almost been teased with the idea of football coming back. So it's good to basically see it on the not so far horizon there. I want to start today's episode by talking about some shenanigans under centre here. There's quite a lot of movement and news coming out of quite a lot of people's QB rooms. I think the biggest story that broke over the last couple of days is that Dan Jones has become QB1 over at the Colts, and Anthony Richardson has been he's been banished. I think that says that the Colts have potentially just given up on the idea. Like, Richardson is younger than Shuck, he's younger than Shador, he's younger than Bo Nix, all people that other franchises are backing up and have confidence in. Is that the right call from the Colts? And where can you see Anthony Richardson potentially go?
It's a big call, isn't it? I mean, they've probably, on paper, they've chosen, which is crazy to say with Dan Jones, but they've maybe chosen a bit more security. They've maybe chosen a bit of a safer bet. The ceiling's possibly higher on Richardson. You probably know what you're getting with Dan Jones in the sort of 4 or 5 years he played for the Giants. But it's a big call. It's I've seen a lot of controversy around it and a lot of different opinions from Colt fans. Some would have liked to have committed to him a little bit longer. I think it probably as well means that he's potentially out of there. His agent didn't seem too confident off the back of the move. So I don't know if either of you have seen any of the clubs that he's linked with, the franchises he's linked with, but I think he's probably out of there, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks to me like he's got a couple of options. The Saints, Raiders, Steelers. I think the Saints is a good option to possibly go in and play now. The Raiders,
he's better what New Orleans have got, right? He's better than what they've got.
That's what I would think. But yeah, like the Raiders, you've got to look at that as QB2 because Geno Smith's going to be there for a while. He's Pete Carroll's guy. The Steelers is interesting. If he can go in there, learn off Aaron Rodgers for a year or two, could he be the Steelers QB1 for the next 5 years once Rodgers is done? I think that's really, really interesting. But again, is he good enough to carry a franchise like that?
He's not been filling me with a lot of confidence anyway. I think, there was talks of last season where he sidelined himself because he was feeling a bit too tired. So if we work on that originally, then maybe he's got a future in the NFL. He was actually one of my top draft prospects in the recent years. It's a weird situation for Richardson there. But anyway, that's not one of the biggest dramas. The QB room in the Cleveland Browns has been cemented. Joe Flacco getting the nod over the likes of Shador Sanders. How long until Shador starts knocking on Flacco's door for that QB1 spot?
I mean, if we're honest, I think that it was Joe Flacco's to lose. They brought Joe Flacco in for security. He'd been with the Browns a couple of seasons ago anyway. He did have a stint with the Colts not long back last season, which he struggled. But actually, with the Browns in 2023, he was quite solid. He was quite reliable for them. So yeah, I think he was likely to get the starting role. It's fair to say, though, that, absolutely, and I know you want to come on to Dylan, Matt, but Shador is definitely going to be knocking on the door. He's definitely going to be pushing, and I think it could be similar to what we see in New York. It could be similar to what we see in a couple of other areas, a couple of other franchises where by sort of week 9 or when they hit a bye week, if you've got a bit of a later bye week, then if the schedule favours it, then give someone else a go. Because Joe Flacco's not going to be the starter next year, you wouldn't think anyway.
Yeah, I think Dylan Gabriel he was obviously drafted before Shador, possibly for more political reasons, but he looked quite good against the Eagles last week. I don't see how they can just discount him. Obviously, they brought in Tyler Huntley as well for more competition. I think we could see 2 or 3 different starters this year. I think Joe Flacco gets them off to a safe start as the rookies maybe, growing confidence, and then that could be end of Joe, really, couldn't it? I mean,
could be.
I think he's one of the only few QBs to ever start a season QB1 at his age, which is a nice story. But it all points to a 3-win season, and then they draft someone else next year anyway. So
it's a nice headline, actually. I saw it in the week. He started his career with Baltimore in the AFC North, and he could potentially end his career in the AFC North with the Browns. So not the side he wants to be on, I'm sure. Unfortunately, I don't think the Browns are going to be an amazing team this year, but we'll see, won't we?
I can't see Baltimore calling him up.
No, neither can I. It's very, very poetic, though, in a quite a sad sort of way. For
yeah,
Joe Flacco. And speaking of Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, a little cause for concern yesterday. He's okay now. He's just battling a slight wrist injury. But other QBs around the league, Jordan Love and Matthew Stafford, they look to be practicing now and fighting their own injuries. Guys, does that give you any confidence, or should we be resting them until we're 100% sure?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Matt will want to give an update on Stafford being a divisional rival, but yeah, Jordan, yeah, great to see him back on the field, albeit throwing with a sort of cast, which obviously still means he's limited in some respects, but ultimately it's great for the wide receiving core to get sort of first team reps again, and equally just to put us in good stead to start the season. Right, nobody wants to start the season with their QB1 out, so
no.
Yeah, one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I think for Stafford, it's not too important. He wouldn't have played that much preseason anyway. He's been around the block. He's a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league. And they've got a hell of a fight for QB2 in LA as well with Jimmy G and Stetson Bennett, which has been really, really interesting in the preseason. Bennett played really well against the Chargers. So, yeah, if Stafford can stay fit, great. If not, then the Rams have got a decent backup in one of those 2 guys.
Do you think the Rams are capable of achieving glory like they did during Super Bowl 56? Do you think Matthew Stafford is still that guy, or do you think, the likes of Jimmy G might be replacing him?
No, I think absolutely they're good enough. The only problem, the biggest issue is the Rams have got is not the Rams, it's the Eagles this year, I think, unfortunately. I think the Rams look really good. We spoke about it last week with Adams and Nakua. If everyone can stay fit, there is no reason why they can't be in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and I think the Niners having some potential injuries as well kind of feeds into the Rams' success potentially and going on that deeper playoff run. So it'll be interesting. Certainly one to watch.
Definitely. More things to watch around the NFL. Just touching on a few talking points we had in Monday's episode. Micah Parsons still without a contract extension, but he's had a few interested sides, including the Packers. We said, would we give 2 first-round picks for him? We went out and actually put our money where our mouth is. Jerry Jones was having none of it. Is that still too high to pay for Micah Parsons? Is Jerry banging on a drum that might not be there? Where does he go?
I think it's just stubbornness from Jerry Jones, to be perfectly honest with you. He's not going to want to part ways with someone that he drafted
I've seen the call. If you've not seen the Parsons call on draft day, Jerry was over the moon to sign him. Parsons before the call said, "It's Dallas all the way. I want to be at Dallas," and it happened. It's such a sour end to this fairy tale if it doesn't have a happy ending.
And it also tells you, what is the asking price then? Because 2 firsts, a 5th, or 2 firsts and a player, what is it going to take to move this guy on? I think if we look back on our previous episode, what we alluded to, I think it is just mind games. Jerry's ultimately probably screwing himself out of a bit more cash at this stage, so he just needs to get on with it. But pride always takes over with Jerry, so we'll see. I fully expect to see Micah Parsons in a Cowboys jersey this year. I think Adam Schefter in the week reported that as well, and probably expects that whilst the relationship over the longer period is probably quite damaged and tarnished now, I think we can probably expect to see him in a Cowboys jersey for the foreseeable, and then possibly a trade next off-season.
And the other name we mentioned in the Monday episode was Trey Hendrickson. Matt, any updates on him?
So this week it's come out that they're actually, his team and the Bengals have agreed on the length of contract and the average salary. It's actually the guaranteed money, which I guess for the player is the important side, which is holding them up. He's also made it very clear that if he's still a Bengal at the start of the season, he's more than happy to sit out games, which I'm sure will endear him to the fans and would be a real shame. But it's come out overnight that the Raiders are the front runners. There's a couple of teams again there who are interested, but it seems like the Raiders are the team making the progress and maybe have the collateral to give to the Bengals. But again, we've not heard the last of this. I still think there's a good chance he's a Bengal, but if not, then maybe Vegas is the place for him.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think I think he goes, and I think there's no smoke without fire.
See you later, Cincinnati.
Yeah, I just think, I do. I really do. This is so different. It's funny that we've got these two sort of edge conversations going on, but I really do believe that they're totally different situations. It is what it is with Micah. The price is the price and all that kind of stuff. With Hendrickson, it is just such a sour relationship by the sounds of it. They've had so much time to sort it out. We saw what happened play out with Shamar Stewart. I just think it's done.
I think Shamar Stewart's proved to the Bengals that maybe Trey Hendrickson needs the Bengals more than they need him.
I agree. And I think there's plenty of teams out there with plenty of cap, plenty of collateral that they can make a move for him, which is what we've seen. Like we said, we registered a couple of franchises' interest last week, but it sounds like the Raiders have made a really strong case for it. So.
Yeah, we will see, but these sort of things need to be done within the first couple of weeks of the regular season. And again, looking towards the regular season, we've still got a few questionable players and players on PUP here that, personally speaking, it's a disaster for my fantasy team. Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, both questionable still. Chris Godwin for the Buccaneers, he's on PUP. Yeah, we're going into the final week of preseason now. He's got limited time to rest. How does that impact the wide receiver room at Tampa?
I think, firstly, for Godwin, no one's really put a timeline on it, but looking and watching him, he's not jogging, he's not making cuts, he's not running routes. If you compare him to other players, for example, Brandon Ayuk, who is doing all those things, Ayuk's expected to be out till at least week 6. So where does that put Godwin?
Crazy.
It's going to be 6 to 10 probably. It is an issue for them, but they have other wide receiver who've come out because obviously McMillan's now injured as well. So the stock's going to fall on Evans and Egbuka, who I know Oliver's really, really big on.
Absolutely. You spoke about fantasy there, Goody, but Chris Godwin's firmly sat on my reserves.
I was going to say, I'll take him off you if you want a little player. I'll still have him. He's going to bounce back.
For trades, but I just think, Egbuka is looking more and more by the day like a solidified sort of wide receiver 2 behind Evans, and then also more importantly, it opens the door for Bucky Irving, who really hasn't got much competition at the RB spot at the minute. Rashad White's out with an injury. So people are just either falling by the wayside, and it's just creating real opportunities for the RB1s and the wide receiver. That's what I was gonna kind of allude on to. Does this make this Bucks team now a predictable offense to counter if we're going to heavily rely on Bucky Irving?
No, I think because they're sending Bucky on routes though, aren't they? Which is different again, which is super exciting. It's the new era of running back. It's great for me. And
we saw it in the preseason last week. He scored. He was actually struggling in the rushing game. He was really, really struggling, and then they sent him on that 15-yard pass over the top on a sort of wheel, and he was in the end zone, touchdown.
That is true, but there is only so many different routes that man can run before he is completely man-marked everywhere. Also, Devin Achane, a bit of a calf issue. What is going on? Is that a cause for concern over at the Dolphins?
Oh, forget the Dolphins. It's more of a concern for my fantasy team. Every single one we've mentioned so far, it seems to be on my team. So clearly I need to have a word with myself when it comes to drafting and my forecasting. But absolutely. It's a major concern for the Dolphins. They're going to be very limited in what they can do this year. I'd expect we see more from Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill's probably... he's got a lot to prove, put it that way. Will he even be a Dolphin by the start of the season? Probably. We'll probably see him get moved at the deadline in November time. But I think it makes for an interesting sort of start to the year for them. I know that they've potentially been linked in the market, the trade market. Matt, have you seen something?
just off the back of episode 2, again, you come to us for the news first. It's potentially a Brian Robinson Jr., isn't it? Which is exciting. It's needed. I think it takes a little bit of pressure on those receivers, and more importantly, Tua. I think Tua's pretty important to how their season goes, but you need a good run game, and Achane is that. Obviously, they pushed pushed most out this year, and
Well,
now
that's
they're
it,
short
isn't
at running back.
That's it. They're very short at running back, so they're going to need to trade for someone or acquire someone off the free agency market. But yeah, it definitely makes for an interesting sort of stuff.
As Matt just alluded to there, it's, you come to us here for very, very insightful takes, and effectively what you just said there was the quarterback is an important role in a football team. But no, yeah, Tua, I hope he has a bounce back. That Dolphins side is in trouble. Can Brian Robinson Jr. can he slot into that side? I think there's not a massive cause for concern with Devon Achane. It sounds like it might just be a slight calf issue that might take. Well, there's no real timeline on it, but hopefully between 1 to 3 weeks. So your fantasy, Oliver, might be safe there. And lastly, to round out, obviously we've got some games ahead. The last round of preseason, some Thursday night football as well tonight. We've got the Panthers. They're hosting the Steelers, and we've got the Patriots at the Giants. Guys, which one of those are you most excited for, and what are you watching?
For me, it's definitely Giants Patriots. They're probably two teams we've spoke about quite a lot so far on the pod, which I don't think anyone would have expected. Obviously, the Giants QB room, I think Russell Wilson will start. Is he going to hit more moon balls? Is he going to throw picks? And then it'll be Jackson Dart again, who is just so exciting to watch against the Patriots.
Move over, Bo Melton. Move over.
Exactly.
With the Jackson Dart
show.
The fan club has moved. But the Patriots look good as well. Obviously, Trayvon Henderson's been a revelation.
Yep.
And Drake May is just, again, super interesting quarterbacks. You don't know what you're going to get.
And I think a quick mention on that Steelers game as well. Listen, do I expect Aaron Rodgers to play? Absolutely not. But he did allude to, at the start of preseason, if Mike calls his number, if Mike Tomlin says, no, we need to see you get a couple of reps, you never know. You might just get 1 or 2 passes. I think what's beautiful about the third pre-season game is this is do or die now. We spoke about it a few weeks ago, but you really see it starting to ramp up. Is there an opportunity for some of these starters to get on the field in week 3? And also, is there an opportunity for them to get those reps in before the regular season starts? So it'll be interesting.
More games this weekend include the Bills at the Bucks, the Colts at the Bengals. Big game there for Dan Jones to prove himself as the new QB1 and assimilate into that Colts side. The Ravens at the Commanders. That's following up an absolute a battle of attrition. The Ravens came away with that win last season. Also, my pick for the game to watch, this might be a curveball here. It's the Bears at the Chiefs. I genuinely think that, after that shutout from the Bears-Bills last week, I think the Bears are looking pretty good, but still quite a lot to prove. Caleb still needs to cement his QB1 spot. But yeah, the Chiefs just need a win. That's genuinely what they need, especially after crashing out. They didn't score a single point in the first half of Super Bowl 59, and they've been ropey, to say the least, in preseason. The Chiefs need a win.
I think it's fair to say that, just for context, QB1 is definitely secure for this year. I think in terms of the longer sort of view on the Bears, yeah, I think he's still got a lot to prove in that respect. And they did extend a QB2 this week, didn't they? So
yeah. I'd be worried though if that was me. It's a 2-year deal as well. It wasn't just for one season, that extension. It was a 2-year deal.
He's only very young, and Ben Johnson...
Well, look what's happened to Anthony Richardson. He's out the door, bags packed, see you later, nowhere to go. He's on the street.
I think there was a bit more draft stock in Caleb Williams, though, after the big monster trade with the Panthers that led to them getting Caleb Williams the following year. So, but yeah, it's an interesting game, that, actually. It is a really interesting game. I think we'll see another series, or possibly even 2, with it being the third game in the preseason fixture list for Caleb Williams. And I think... I was questioning whether we see Mahomes. I'm not sure we do. I can't make my mind up, but certainly one to watch. I'd definitely be tuning in for the first quarter at least, just to try and see what's on offer for that game.
Yeah. Does any other games, either from that list or anything else around the league, to take your fancy for this weekend?
For me, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Bears, Chiefs, Commanders, Ravens, and Buccaneers, Bills will be my picks. As a fourth wild card, Lions, Texans looks really good.
Good
game.
The Lions have looked really quite poor so far this season. I think you probably see a little bit of CJ Stroud and Jared Goff as well, which would be nice. And yeah, it's interesting to see what the Lions can do on offense since Ben Johnson's gone out the door. Tactics have gone downhill. So I think we need to see something this weekend to give you sort of a bit of hope that they can win the division again, or
100%.
you know, Packers, Bears, and Vikings are snapping at the heels.
There's one solution for the Lions' problem, and it's just fielding Sonic and Knuckles together for a 1-2 slam. There's Chaos Emeralds in the end zone. Go and get them, lads. You know.
And actually, you know, they're a team that's gone right under the radar this off-season. They've had a lot.
Genuinely, I actually couldn't tell you how that.
No,
you know.
they were the subject of a lot of sort of controversy at the start of the year when was Ben Johnson going to leave? Was Aaron Glenn going to go? Turns out they both left. Aaron Glenn, obviously now the head coach for the Jets, and Ben Johnson with the Bears, as Matt was alluding to. But yeah, it's very interesting. They seem to be going for that vertical sort of ball downfield all the time. All of preseason, they've been looking for sort of Williams on those initial drives, and then yeah, it's maybe a bit of a tell for how the Lions could look this year.
Yeah, really, really exciting. Only time will tell. And speaking of time, we are inching ever closer to the first week of the regular season. I'm really excited. We all are on this podcast. But yeah, enjoy the last round of preseason this weekend. And we will catch you again on Monday for another episode of the Early Hours Podcast.